What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online program in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care, and is also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am always not always, periodically, I'm still doing the board chairing of the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. And I'm joined by Mr. Ryan Knight. What's going on?
Hey, you mentioned when we were in the green room, things feel calm. I don't know if that's just me, but even though like working late nights, I still feel on top of my to-do list, which is rare. And again, for those that don't know who Ryan Knight is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. Also, I'm a business owner myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights that provides mobile waterless car cleaning. We go to people's houses or their offices and clean their cars without using any water. And at the moment, we have 2 spots left for our second phase.
But summer's almost done, man.
Hey, it can go into fall. We're not scared of a little bit of cold.
I don't know if we're going to get any cold the way this summer's been going. I don't know if we're going to get any cold, right?
So yeah, if you know a person in high school, college, if you're a parent of said individual, reach out and let them know we are hiring. 2 more spots are left. We're going to be hiring by Monday. So we had been doing the search, like the, employee search for a couple weeks, and we're hiring 2 more on Monday. So yeah, things are exciting. They get hired as an employee, but they get to learn entrepreneurship. It's a bit of a hybrid that we've tested out over the years, and it's been pretty successful.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Good stuff. What's been going on in your life this week?
You know, we, as a team at ACBN, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, we are meeting this weekend because as COVID hit, you realize how long it's been since you've seen your teammates, like people just in person, just to say like, hey, let's talk and see each other. And again, because schedules get mixed up, it might turn into a virtual meeting, but eventually we're going to get in person. But yeah, just thinking of meeting teammates that we haven't seen in a while came to mind, that we've been trying to schedule that initial meeting. But other than that, I know there's a couple trade show pop-up shops that are happening this weekend. One called Uroja or Umoja. I don't know if you heard of that one happening this weekend, but my wife is going to be one of the vendors with her Afrocentric greeting cards. So we're going to check out that pop-up shop this weekend. Okay. But Sunday is clear. So
all right, give the plug. Your wife's business. Come on, give the plug.
Yes. What am I? I'm not wearing the shirt. Hold on. Ebony Occasions. Yes. Oh, actually, right beside me, I have her thank you cards that I'm gonna be sending out.
All right.
So she does Afrocentric greeting cards, but I'm gonna be sending out all these thank yous to people in the community that have been so supportive, people that have bought my daughter's book, organizations that have supported me in my journey with my business. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you need greeting cards, they also do thank you cards.
It's interesting, and shout out, do say hello to your dear wife, and tell her she's always doing an incredible job, and also her supporting the Morning Vibe, because I do see that she watches replays when she gets time. So yes. I really appreciate that, and don't take it for granted. Also, a big shout out to everyone. Christopher Lawrence is here, our number 1 supporter. Christopher Lawrence is in the house. But yeah, thank you for everyone over the last few months who continuously, or even if you've watched a few seconds, have dropped in, watched, commented, tell people about it. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, to Ryan's YouTube channel. And that's a few things that have changed up today. We are now broadcasting on about 5 different platforms live right now. So we're upping our game, because you want us up our game, and we got to represent. So I just want to say thank you to all the support there. Interesting you mentioned that, and it's a simple thing about those thank you cards. And that's one of the things I share with people who ask me to mention them. I say, well, do you believe in thank you cards? Oh, why? And so people get so many emails when you send them a thank you card. Most of the time, they're not going to throw it away, and they're going to remember it, especially if you're looking for employment. Even if you don't get that job, they're not going to forget getting that card. And we were chatting before we started live today about the whole aspect of organizations keeping engaged with their community.
Big time.
We won't name organizations, but we no, well, you may go there. I don't know if I'm going to go there, but people don't realize how important it is to, whether it's an individual or organizations, keeping your communities engaged, especially when things aren't going good. Your thoughts?
Well, and I'll use an example that's not specific to the community. So people may have heard there's always different initiatives happening in the Black community. So the Black procurement pilot was one of them. So people might not realize that launched in January, but there weren't a lot of touch points up until today. And same thing happened with the loan fund. It gets launched and then there's not like transparency and engagement, like you're saying, along the way. So that's where the community isn't there all the time just because it's a Black initiative. I feel a lot of organizations are starting to, how do I say it? It's like,
take the community for granted.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly, like, that trust meter is getting very low. And I see organizations, when I talk to different leaders, they expect when they roll something out, if it's for the Black community, then everybody will just show up because, hey, it's a Black thing. But if there's no trust there, if there's no relationship there, it doesn't matter what your program is. People aren't going to show up just because we share the same melanin. It's like,
not all skin folk are king folk.
And that's what we're seeing. So now being kind of in that space where I've been called out for, let's say, not answering my phone or not getting back to people is really important when you're accessible, the different type of trust that people have with you. And again, I'm trying to get better with communication, and even especially with my team and with the community. But if your number is on the website or office numbers on the website, that number has to be answered. It can't.
That's a very interesting point. How many, and I may be guilty of this, how many organizations and how many of us put their phone number on the website? Does that tell you something that they don't, when they don't put it on?
Right.
And everyone has their lives to lead. I fully understand. But one of my main mentors, and he actually does very well real estate wise in the United States. One of the first things he told me is, Dr. Vibe, I give good phone. He says, I put my phone number.
I remember you telling me that.
Yes, I put my phone number on my website, and he says, you call me anytime. He says, I challenge people to call me. He answers his own phone.
Right. And you'll notice Doug Ford and Rob Ford, they ran on those types of campaigns where they're like, if you call our office, somebody's going to answer and I will get back to you. That means a lot.
Yes.
And like, it doesn't matter what you think of people and their policies and platforms. Being accessible changes the relationship with, and that's just like a blanket customer service type lesson, business, just being like having good communications type lesson. This isn't just for Black folk, but we are talking to us because listen, there's a trend in certain Black industries that need to get better at customer service. And of course, I will use the easy one in our restaurateurs. There are too many bad reviews about just an experience that is fundamentally bad customer service. And I struggle with why we don't get that.
Well, I'm going to turn it upside down a little bit. How do we, there's some of us who will go hard on our Black organizations, but we give non-melanated organizations a pass on the same thing.
True. And listen, when I go to Oceans, I know I'm not getting no smile. Like, so you're right. And that's why actually I stopped shopping there. And now I shop at Afrocan, Afrocan, oh my gosh, Afrocan Caribbean Supermarket. Yes. I try to find Black-owned grocery stores now because, and it was that exact thought process. I'm like, okay, if I'm in here and getting ignored and bad service, at least I will get like shop with my own. And okay, if the customer service is bad, at least the money is circulating. But that doesn't negate the fact that I would rather get a smile and good customer service.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the point here. Are you the same with non-melanated or shops?
Well, for me, I will stop shopping there. Like, okay. I'm not loyal to like other grocery stores to say like, hey, if I get bad service, I literally now only go in there if they have something that I can't find anywhere else.
Okay.
But so what I will go into, listen, me and Mr. Jerk do not get along. Like that, I don't know how, the cadence or the tone, whatever it is, like getting my order all here. Let me tell you a quick story. I went in there because my wife will send me there, and I always get heart palpitations. I'm like, okay, I gotta deal with these people. So I go in.
Happy
I'm
wife, like, happy wife.
Yes,
happy life.
I'll go and like into the battlefield. And so I'm like, okay, I have everything ready.
How incorrect. Into the battlefield.
I give the order all, and I'm like, okay, I'll give the first part, and then I'll give the second part. And then she's like, oh, why didn't you just give it to me all at once? I'm like, okay, So the next time I go in there, I give it all at once, and she's like, oh, just give it to me one at a time. I can't win. I can't win in this world. And it's like you're fighting the person behind the counter when you're there to give them money. It's like, yo, I just want to give you my money and take the food and go.
Take the money and run.
But it's like you have to be so delicate. And
that's hilarious.
And hey, there's restaurants like Krabby Joe's that thrives off of, the parody of bad service. So if Mr. Jerk, if that's your stick, where it's actually you're not supposed to be expecting smiles and hey, it's like not just Mr. Jerk chicken, but Mr. Jerk customer service. Hey, lean into that marketing. But if you are actually priding yourself on not just the good food, but a good experience, I'm not seeing it there. And they're living only by their good food, because I've heard many experiences from other people that the customer service is not what you go there for, because it's so lacking.
Hungry and angry. That's why you go there.
Yes.
Another thing you pointed out, and it's good because when we have these chop up conversations, folks, Ryan will talk about things that I can pick. There's things I want to pick out and delve deeper. This whole thing about Black dollars only circulating 5 or 6 times in community. Well, I've seen updated reports. It's now 0.
Oh, wow.
Like if 5 or 6 times, that survey's done years ago. 5 or 6 times is in other communities. But I don't think.
Well, I think this is like it was 6 hours. Like it would
flow. Well, I would say it's less than that now.
Wow.
But like the latest things, it's less than. I've got to go back. I was listening to a very respected individual saying he said 0.
That's insane. And one thing that I started to think about is because a lot of things are digital, we actually never touch our money.
There you go.
Because look at, if you get your paycheck and it goes into your bank account, which is not Black owned, and then gets direct deposited into your landlord's bank account.
Thank you for answering my question. And thanks for reinforcing my statement.
Yeah, we actually never touch the money.
Because the system, there you go, because the systems and processes that distribute our money and our things are not white owned.
Well, not Black owned.
I mean, sorry, correction, Black owned.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Like if so
0.
If I send an e-transfer to someone who's Black, we're
never touching it.
Like it does go to that other
But at
person.
least it's
But again,
circulating. That's better.
it's
Yeah.
circulating, but how long
But-
it stays, but then again, how
Yeah.
long it stays in there,
Right.
right?
Yes. And that's where infrastructure comes in. Because if we don't have certain infrastructure, look, the hospital industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. If we go to the hospital, that money that the hospital is generating isn't circulating in the Black community.
Let's go in further. There was a time that you would see many faces that look like us in hospitals. But and I'd really like to get your wife's perspective on this, because from what I see, Black faces in hospitals is not what it used to be 10, 20 years ago. Like employee wise.
Not at all. Yeah.
Right? Because there was a time, and my mother was a nurse. Many nurses in the Black community, but now I see, and I'll be honest here, more Filipino faces in the nursing industry than I see Black.
And you wonder, because I remember I hear stories about like the Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau, when they were opening up immigration, it was to a lot of domestic workers. And so I would be curious to kind of trace that trend. It's like at one point, all of our parents were coming in maybe under that. So then more nurses were here, and then they're inspiring their children to be nurses. And then that third generation, it misses. Right.
So Chris has a question. Why do you think that is? The circulation of the dollar? You know what? I think we need to do a whole show on that one. I think, and I think we should actually bring somebody in, or bring 2 or 3 people in, and just have like a mini summit, a morning vibe summit about the circulation of the Black dollar. I think we should call that. So myself and Rob.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we can give a short answer here, but I think it takes a longer. And I'd also want to get people who are more knowledgeable of that than myself in for that conversation. But I think I'm going to go back to my old thing: trauma, repetition, symbolism. We don't, and especially the first part, the trauma part. Many of us do not trust each other. Chris is saying here, do you think it's because of customer service? No, I don't think that's part of it. I don't think it's all of it.
Yeah, because like you said, there's bad customer service in different communities. So it's not only the Black community, but hey, look at the hair industry. You can see the customer service is at an all-time low, or they'll put a Black face at the cash register just to interact, or I guess on the floor they were saying to interact with people, but then they're at the cash.
Alicia says conditioning. I think that's also part of it too. For again, there is for many centuries, many of us have told you trust the non-melanated person, but you can't trust one of your own.
And a big thing that we don't do is audit our spending. So if we took inventory, and this is where we have to get purposeful about wanting to spend in the community. If you're going to change spending habits, and again, to battle conditioning, we have to understand where our money is going.
Well, we also have to start young. Like we should be.
Well, somebody has to be able to teach. Like starting young.
Well, but then I'll go deeper. We got to teach our own.
Yeah.
Right. We got to teach our own. We got to teach young people. I mean, like really, really young, owning their own business. I'm a firm believer. If you have a child that's being born, that child should be born having stocks.
Ooh, I like that.
From a very young age. Buy stocks, put it in their name. Think about many of us, and we're all here. Could you imagine if you bought stocks for your children when they were born? Like, perfect example. Say we bought Amazon stocks for our children when they were first born.
So that would have been 10 years ago? Or are you talking like older kids? Oh yeah, like people that have
just in general. Just in general. Say you bought, because when Amazon first went to market, it was going for $70 a share.
Wow. And even today, if Amazon was at 70 and you presented that to the Black community, I know some people that'd be like, yo, $70, I ain't putting $70. Like it would still be a challenge to some to spend that much money on a stock. But the difference, like you're saying, if we started young and if somebody came into my high school, and because I started buying stocks recently, if somebody just came in and said, listen, today we are buying a stock and we're going to take the whole day and learn why it's important to own stocks, my entire life would be different. Like in high school, that knowledge would completely change, because it changes how I talk now. Like with friends that I have that also started buying stocks and trading, the conversation's different. It's just, hey, which stocks are you looking at? Which ones did you get? How did it perform? Or are you thinking of getting out?
And
the conversation becomes different.
Yeah, it gets down to, again, we're not taught about wealth.
Right. Yes.
So we got questions, and we love it because when we can just start a conversation, our wonderful community starts going at it and giving us questions. So I put up before, Alethea says conditioning. Christopher Lawrence says, do you think it's because of location? Yeah. Well, location to me is part of doing business. But again, the world is so digital now, location doesn't matter for a lot of things. For a lot of things, not everything, but for a lot of things, you can have a digital footprint. And a lot of people, again, there's a separation because of the pandemic. If you didn't have a digital footprint, like, hey, even fitness places went digital.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think location, again, going forward, I think from where I'm sitting and what I'm hearing, we're looking at a hybrid world, right? Very few places are going to go back to the old model of business, because again, we don't know well, I don't like this going back to the normal. There's a new normal. Sorry. Yes. Open your eyes. There's a new normal. Right. So because you don't know whatever is going to happen. So I think location is part of it. Well, the most important place location is important is real estate. OK, so that's another thing. Owning land. Forget about owning. Let's just say by the word owning.
Overarching.
No, just owning. There, just own. So I don't know what you think about location. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if we're talking about kind of digital presence versus like in-person or physical presence, that is definitely a trend that we are behind on. If we're talking more about just not having Black-owned things to buy in our like immediate, like if you're looking for a grocery store and it's in Toronto, like the closest Black-owned grocery store, or even in Brampton, it's all the way across town. So you'd rather just go to a Walmart because there's 5 of them instead of the one grocery store that's like at Torbram and Steeles. So that to me is, again, us being purposeful with our dollars. But the convenience factor is important, because not just convenient. Yeah, convenience, time, and the cost. Because now typically our grocery stores won't have economies of scale to be able to get products at a wholesale rate that's low enough to compete. And hey, if Walmart wants to crush you, they'll just notice anything that you sell, they'll reduce the price
because they've got the buying power. They've got
compete.
It's interesting you mentioned in the area of Toronto I live in. Over the last 10 to 15 years, the most dominant new businesses were Chinese grocery stores.
Okay, right. Well, Brampton had a couple open too.
Yes, and if you want Black food, they got it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's funny. You will see, just in where I live, I am within 20 minutes. I can go to 3 different Chinese grocery stores that sell Black food.
And that's where, but see, so it's not the product. The product we buy, but somehow we're more comfortable. And again, it could be just the convenience. It's right there. There's 3 within 20 minutes. That to me is amazing. And so now it's so easy to make that choice instead of going to the Black restaurant that is 25 minutes away and is going to cost a bit more. So that's where it's like us being purposeful to break out of something that's convenient and go to something that's going to get the dollar circle. It's become so easy to spend outside of our community how do we reverse that? How do we make it easier to spend inside of our community? And actually, that's a bit of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Chris was asking, do you think it's because of our price point? So I think we covered a little bit in the last few moments with the price point. Yeah, because you have to look at
definitely a piece of it.
You know, it's and Alethea is saying we have to teach our own. We also need schools to implement accounting and finance courses. Well, I know in Ontario they're beginning to do that, but that has to start from home, not in school. It has to start from home. That's where the impact will have the greatest. It has to start from home. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was because that comment made me think of like having our own, yes, starting from home, but like after school programs, like we can't only trust the current education ecosystem to deliver the type of learning that our children need. And again, there's different thought processes where it's, okay, do we have our own schools? Do we have our own school boards? Or do we get the current schools to teach a more Afrocentric approach and involve our culture? I would love to think you can't completely dismantle the current system, but we can layer on what's missing. And you'll see like different like Hebrew schools or like private schools that
Jewish schools forever
on weekends.
Yep.
If we added in these elements that might be missing and what our Black children need to learn, we should be doing that ourselves and say, hey, take your kids after school between 3:30 and 5. They're going to come to something that helps them get ready to lead in this world, helps them get ready to lead the Black community and survive, and not just survive, but thrive in this world. Wow. They're not learning how to be owners and buy stocks and financial literacy. Sure, they're sprinkling it in now, but we could be very purposeful to create a learning environment. And again, we can say like it starts from home, but I struggle. I need to learn a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
so but I'll be sitting right beside Jasmine in those classes.
Good, but you're at home you're at home and doing it together. Right? There's no distraction of other kids. Whatever thought process, it starts at the home. And we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop here because we got to take a break. There are comments flying in on this one, so we appreciate it. So we're gonna come back in just a minute, and we'll continue the conversation again. If you're watching live, thank you so much for your real-time comments. We're just feeding on what you are sharing with us today. We'll be back in just a moment to continue a frenzied Friday on the Morning Vibe. Keep it locked. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, and it is Black Canada Talking time. Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes on stories, POVs that are of importance to them, or we showcase Black Canadians are doing their thing.
The real aspect of what goes on behind the walls or behind the fence is a totally different persona and a totally different picture.
There was just a big sense of relief when we finally got there.
We have to realize that everything we do is going to have an impact on probably a lot of people we don't even know.
One of the mandates of the CBC is to reflect Canada back to itself.
Not a lot of sustainable long-term movement that will affect economic change.
God bless, peace well, keep the faith, and walk good. Hey, we are back, and the little spot there for Black Canada Talking, this live conversation that features Black Canadians or also Black Canadians giving their POV on stories and events happening in Canada, around the world. Lives on Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. This Sunday, at 5 p.m. Speaking about restaurants, we have the CEO of the Sunrise restaurant chain in the GTA.
Come on.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, he's going to be on. Well, the business was started by his father, but he is the CEO. Marcus Davenport, he is scheduled to be on this Sunday. So if you are available on the Dr. Vibe Show Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch channel, you can catch Marcus Davenport from the Sunrise Caribbean restaurant chains.
Can you ask him and his dad if they would do a masterclass on franchising and getting a business ready to duplicate? I would love to take that course.
So I will tell them I am a disciple of Ryan Knight, and he is my mentor. Mr. Knight has asked me to. I'm begging you to do this masterclass. I'll say so.
Man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show, especially on YouTube, and thank you. The YouTube channel growth is going up and up, so please subscribe, and we'll do it. So let's get back to our conversation because the comments are going crazy, and no Ty Ryan today, so there's no 10 o'clock meeting.
Yes.
So you have a little time until the little ones start jumping into the
right. That's the clock.
All right, so let's go. Oh, the comments are just going on here. So, Christopher Lawrence, do you think we just don't support because each one another because of trauma, history, and symbolism? Trauma, repetition, and symbolism. I think a part of it is that. I think a lot of it is that. To be honest, I think. As I may have said this on the show many years ago, someone told me, Dr. Vibe, every Black person needs a therapist. And I'm beginning to believe that.
Boy, yeah. And yeah, we even at ACBN are realizing how important mental health is. And I call it mental strength training. It's like we don't deal with our trauma. And right now, like, it's tough to hear, but after what we've been through, like let's say with slavery, we had to figure out a way to work with the ecosystem that we're in. And people might call that complacent, people might call it like loving the white man or whatever, but we had to find there's a comfort level in the where you're put. Like it's tough to explain because it's like I always consider ourselves being part of an experiment. And in the experiment, if you put a rat in a specific environment, it changes its behavior. And so our behavior has been changed to think that a white lens or European lens is normal, the right way, and anything outside of that is not normal. So now when you're talking about people being more comfortable shopping outside of Black, look how long we've had to shop outside of our Black community. And so we have to break what's been comfortable for us into something new and then make that comfortable for our children. That is, it's like a complete shift like that. It's
and that's going to take time.
Yeah, but I do believe that we are in an infinity game. If you go past the 400 years backwards, thousands of years, we know what we've come from. We've been able to build civilizations and lead the global charge in education. That is built into our DNA. But again, I feel like we had a stumbling block. Okay, 400 years stumbling block, but 400 years from now, we shouldn't be talking about like what slavery has done to us. We should be talking about how we re-engineered and got back to greatness. So we have to be thinking
we're great already. We're great already, but we gotta up the greatness.
But it has to be conditioned. Like right now, we're still trying to convince ourselves. I'm trying to convince myself of that greatness because we're in a time that we're rebuilding. And so when we're rebuilding, it's like when you're building a house and somebody's laying the foundation, you're not seeing, like, you're not part of the entire structure yet. But that cathedral, that like in the future is going to be amazing, but you're part of just being that bricklayer and laying the foundation, but you know what you're building and you know what's to come, but you might not be part of that. You know, like the first people that were building the pyramids, that first layer, they weren't part of the completed and they died not seeing the finished product, but they were part of that foundation. And that's what, it's Yeah, sorry. Let's get to another question because
Well, just by that there, you've extended you've made this conversation another half an hour just by what you said right there. You realize that, right? You realize that.
Oh,
Okay,
boy.
no problem. That's all good. You just like comments came flying in just on what you were sharing right there. So okay, so let's go to this. Ms. Sophia Jacob, good morning from Ottawa, saying Black communities are not online shoppers and our businesses struggle to move from person to online. Why? The trust factor comes into play. If we cannot physically see and touch, we don't buy, at least not as much as other communities. And I hear you within that. Many years ago, white gentleman, but he's very knowledgeable about leadership. He said something, you either change or you be changed.
You see?
So unfortunately, again, because we're not as together, I don't want to use the word united, together as we are, we let other people dictate us. So I think that in cases, touch, don't buy. Well, unfortunately, many of us don't have a choice anymore.
And that's what got amplified. So the time frame for us to get comfortable shopping online and shifting our businesses, which let's say we had a 10-year plan to get online, COVID slapped us in the face and it happened in a month. It said, listen, if you are not online, game over. So that touch feel evaporated for the last 2 years.
We are going to, and it's slowly but surely coming, we're going to be in a world retail-wise that 75% of the time you're going to cash out via machine, not a person. There's a major grocery chain. There's at least 2 major grocery chains in the Greater Toronto area right now have now put in computer checkouts.
Just go to Dollarama.
There you go.
Like listen, they are like one cashier.
That's it.
And 20 units. Like as soon as COVID, they had those things in the warehouse waiting.
Oh,
they're like, yo,
yeah. Because again, and you're a businessman. I'm somewhat of a business, but you're Mr. Businessman. I've been told
in process.
But the thing is, your 2 biggest expenses when you run a business are location and labor. So if you can reduce your location, that puts more money in the bank. And then if you can reduce the number of people working for you and still make more and more money, capitalism at its finest, and I use that term at its finest. Monetary, that's capitalism at its finest.
And you'll see it. Hey, maximize shareholder value. And that's where
maximize consumer value, shareholder value.
Look at they turned us into cashiers. We're doing the work.
Exactly. That's a good point. We're our own cashiers now. We're our own cashiers. Let's move further. Do you think all 3 stores are making one payment for products together and keeping the customer price fair and low price? Do you think all 3 stores are making one payment for products together and keeping the customer price at fair and low prices? I don't understand the question.
I think it's the 3 stores that you're talking about in your neighborhood.
Yes. Of course they work together. And you know what would even be funnier? I wouldn't be surprised if the same person owned all 3 stores.
People need to research the Korean Convenience Store Association. They have, I think it's 20,000 members. So if you immigrate here as a Korean, you want to open a convenience store. These things don't happen by accident. They have a total system that'll get you set up. So what does that mean? If they're setting up 20,000 plus convenience stores, that buying power keeps those prices low. So those 3 are probably part of a bigger wholesaling, whole distribution, logistics. And Dr. Vibe, you had mentioned on a show previous where we have to dig deeper into like the manufacturing of the product. Like where is the money actually ending up? So imagine they have the full vertical integration from the country that it's manufactured in. They build all the infrastructure there. They now ship the products to their own wholesalers. Wholesalers distribute to all the convenience stores. And I don't know if they sell a franchise, but if you want to set up shop, you go to the association. They get you all the supplies, equipment, location. You're up and running.
Yep.
So that's completely different than any restaurant, I would say, except for Sunrise. So any restaurant in our Black community right now, if they want to set up there's a restaurant, they have to get all that stuff on their own. Yep. There's no Caribbean African restaurant association that you could go to say, hey, I need oxtail. They're buying oxtail for all of the Black restaurants. Mm-hmm. And I keep talking about oxtail because when I meet with Isaac Olawalafe, and I consider him a mentor, and he just says, why aren't we group buying oxtail? Like, we can start with anything that these restaurants buy. How do we get all of them buying together so that it reduces the price? It's just, we haven't figured it out. And when I heard about
mind-blowing, again, trauma, repetition, symbolism.
But the business case is, I feel like it's such an easy.
Maybe they don't trust each other or whatever. Yeah, repetition, do it the same way that everyone else has done.
Yes.
And symbolism. I got a sore in front, but I could be hurt. I could be doing better, but I want to put on a good face. Let's move further. Like I said, they keep on going. And again, just a promo, Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Marcus Davenport is scheduled to be on, head of the Sunrise restaurant chain in the Greater Toronto area. And actually, I was told through one of his representatives that if it wasn't for COVID, they even would have more locations. Go figure. So they're doing something right. All right, I think Ryan may be frozen. So he's back with us.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hare says, we need rich Black people to invest in small businesses so we can compete with big box office.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I like the concept of that comment because if you look at the National Association of the National Angel Investors Association, in that association, there are not a lot of Black angel investors. There's not a lot of Black venture capitalists. Those are the vehicles that wealthy, rich Black individuals would use to invest into businesses. You can't just knock on Wes Hall's door and say, hey, I want to pitch you my business and expect to get an investment check. He would have a vehicle that he would put his money into that would then invest into businesses. That infrastructure.
You need to tell people who Wes Hall is, because I think some people may not know who he is.
So Wes Hall is the founder, CEO, chairman of Kingsdale Advisors. He's also one of the founders of the Black North Initiative here in Canada. So I would say, and I think he runs like $100 million company. He's on Dragon's Den now here in Canada. So look at, yes.
Stop that point. I'm very interested to see if we will see, and I don't watch the show. I
love that show.
Okay. We'll talk offline about one or two other things, but I'm going to say, first of all, keep us up to date if you see any Black Canadian entrepreneurs on that show.
I wouldn't see.
No, going forward, right? Because what is his purpose there? To be a face, or really to have any change?
Well, they missed an amazing opportunity. And one of my colleagues mentioned, if they had created the Dragon's Den like Black edition and Wes Hall and other, just like that comment what Hare was saying, you bring more wealthy Black individuals and put them on a panel and then invite Black entrepreneurs to come and pitch. That to me would give us a way to get wealthy people to invest into our businesses. So right now, Wes Hall being on the traditional Dragon's Den, he's in a tough position.
Yeah, he can't call. He has no. First of all, he's the newest person on. Second of all, he probably doesn't call us. But I'm wondering. Keep us updated if you see any Black Canadian entrepreneurs on the Dragon's Den stage.
Yeah, and I say he's in a tough position because I see this with Shark Tank all the time. So Damon John, I think, is the only Black shark that has ever been on that show. When a Black person entrepreneur comes and pitches, I've seen it time and time again. Damon will be the last person left that hasn't gone out. And then me as the viewer is like, oh, come on, Damon, it's a Black entrepreneur. You have to invest in them. But he's looking at a business case.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
And he'll say it. He's like,
yep.
My heart wants to invest with you. I love the story. But I can't make it work.
Yeah.
And that's the position that Wes is going to be in now.
Yeah.
He's going to see a Black entrepreneur and he's running the Black North Initiative. Like, all eyes are going to be on, there's no way he's not going to invest in this person. But if it's not a good business case, he can't.
Yeah, if it isn't good for his bottom line, why would we expect him to do it?
So I bet you'll see, and I'll report back. The first couple episodes, you're going to see a few front-loaded Black entrepreneurs that get funded just so that they can.
It'd be funny.
It'd
be funny if the non-melanated investors invest in things that he wouldn't, from Black entrepreneurs.
Hey, we shall see now. But yeah,
all right.
He painted himself into a tricky corner.
So ABCN saying home should lay the foundation.
Yes.
Alethea saying looking forward to that one to Marcus's appearance on the
me too
on Sunday. ACBN saying that then community leaders should help create the learning environment to help as well. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. I think that.
Well, I want to lean into that for just a little bit because ACBN, I feel, is in that economic space. We now need to be able to support those in the education space. And I would love to know who are those players that are building the curriculums. Where could we invest to strengthen and create that education ecosystem?
Well, it's interesting, and I see a possible opportunity for an organization like yours and other ones. Community organizations should be reaching out to organizations like yours to say, can you come in and present, whether it's face-to-face or online, wealth building course?
100%.
I just thought about that.
Yes.
Wealth build. Let's negotiate. Let's offer something online that's a webinar that the people can go to over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's just there.
There it is, right?
I love
there
that.
It is. So I just came up. I'm not going to get any royalties for that, folks, but I'm just putting it out there. I ain't all about the money, all right? So Alethea says, I have a lot to say to Sunrise. I don't know what that means, but I know a little bit about you, a little bit. I can't wait till you come on Sunday. There we go. Change and transition. Sophia, sorry it took a while because the comments are just so good here today. So I hope you're still around. Our communities are folks who work hard and pay bills and buy yourself a little something. Buying stocks, creating wealth, investments was never taught. Agreed. Boom. It's usually the work for mindset over the creating your own and build your own. We can and are changing this now. Agreed. I think when you don't own anything, you don't have say in anything. We have to this is just Dr. Vibe speaking. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a capitalistic system. Let me say this again. Yes. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a capitalistic system. He who has the possessions calls the shots. We're in the middle of an election right now. They need money to run their campaigns. Where do you think they get a lot of their money from? A lot of that money comes from corporations and businesses.
That's why they get a lot of leverage.
Right? So I agree. We're changing that mindset. I think the mindset is will start making a real change with the Generation Zs, especially. They realize that they don't want to go what their older brothers and especially their parents went through. Brothers and sisters, older siblings went through, or their parents went through. That, and again, we've been hanging on to this story. We're not going to get to a day, but one day we'll get to it. There's a recent study in the United States, the racial wealth gap for Black millennials is even worse than previous generation. and we haven't got to that. We're trying to get to it, but you guys are on fire so much. We're not even going to get to it today. But long story short, in the U.S., lots of young blacks have gone to college, get their degree, They come out in so much college debt, they can't afford to buy a house.
They're handcuffed.
And then also on top of it, they got to compete against their non-melanated friends to get those jobs. Plus, a lot of times the stress they have to deal with at the workplace. Here's another fact, folks, and we should talk about it next week. In the United States, people are quitting their jobs at a record rate.
Oh, like right now?
Record rate.
What? Oh.
People said, because the pandemic said, hey, I don't want to go back to that nonsense. People, this is where the ACBNs and other organizations in Canada, you need to be looking at what's going, again, we'll get back to the beginning, engaging with your community.
Right.
How many people are starting or looking at starting their own business right now?
Absolutely.
Like, and people say, well, that's the United States. Well, you know what? We do a lot.
That's similar.
We follow their coattails.
Yes. And the one thing about starting a business, that is the thing that I've seen empower people more than anything else. When we work with youth and at the beginning, they don't even feel like they have the potential to be a business owner. And at the end, they're realizing that they're able to control their income and control
own something and build wealth.
The shift in a person's chest being raised, their chin being raised just from a small business. It doesn't have to be like a massive Facebook, Microsoft. Having ownership definitely changes the game and the conversations.
Absolutely. Christopher is saying, can we develop this team cohesion, seeing that it is being done as a very responsible deliverable? Well, I think we only want the right people. We don't want everybody. There's some people that are not there yet, and there's some people who I don't want, to be honest.
Right. But hey, if their mindset comes around to what is best for the community and what we really need to empower ourselves, they may not have gotten it before, but if they get it, I would rock with them. I'd be like, listen, okay, we've had our differences before. Maybe you weren't like, I didn't agree with your approach, but now if we're on the same wavelength, we have the same messaging. But demonstrate. You can't just talk about it. Demonstrate that.
You know, and it's a good thing you brought up, because there is a gentleman from the environment, because I don't think there's a black community. I think there's black neighborhoods, but Ryan and I push back and forth about this all the time. That a little while back, he invited me into a potential collaboration to get some sponsorship from an organization.
Okay.
And the way he was putting it out compared to the way I was putting out, he didn't have expertise in the area of sponsorship as much as I did, and he was undervaluing the opportunity. Right. So long story short, we didn't go together. Like, he got a sponsorship. The sponsorship he got was way under his value, but he took it.
Right.
But we had our difference, but we still are aligned. They actually had an event a number of months ago in Toronto. I was the first person who registered for it.
Yes.
And at the event, it was at a small venue, very, very small venue. And I was one of the few people that were even there.
And that's where the difference in approach shouldn't negate us moving together for the bigger vision. Because we can, I feel like we don't debate in the Black community well. When there's a difference of opinion, it's like you don't only just cut off that person, you cut off their whole lineage. Like, if that person's Jamaican, you done off all Jamaicans. You're like, well, I can't work with Jamaicans.
So here's a very interesting example of another way we could look at doing business with each other. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in Afghanistan right now. Real crazy stuff.
Yes.
Real, and our hearts are out to the people there, even though there's just a lot of bad stuff going on there. The United States is leaving there. All these Western countries are leaving there because they don't agree with the way the country's being run, this, that, and other thing. Guess what country's waiting to move in?
Ooh, Russia?
No.
Was that China?
Ah.
Really? What?
People don't realize, maybe people are only hearing one. Again, media has an agenda. They're only telling you one side of the story. You dig deep, do your research. Afghanistan has over $1 billion of natural resources.
Right.
One of the resources they have that's in high demand is lithium.
Oh, right.
Lithium is a component in rechargeable batteries.
The batteries, yes.
Chinese mentality is this. Western mentality is this. We will do business with you as long as you do, like, you have good human rights, you do things the way we like in your country, this and that. Chinese mentality is we just want to do business.
Right.
They don't care. They don't care about the politics. You know what they want? They want the scratch. Right?
Whoa.
My heritage country, Jamaica. Any Jamaicans out there, while you're watching this live on the replay, for many years to drive from Kingston to Montego Bay was hours to
at
get
least
there.
2.5 hours.
Right.
Yes, up the mountain and down the mountain.
What country
if it's not flooded?
What country built the highway from Kingston to Montego Bay? Okay. Yes. Can most Jamaicans afford it?
Because it's a toll highway, right? Oh dear.
And from what I may need to dig a little deeper, that land, China owns it for 99 years.
What? You see, listen, I'm learning right now.
China don't care about the Jamaican politics.
Right.
China got their money.
And they're buying pockets of the earth.
Not pockets, they're buying the earth. They're not buying pockets. They're buying the earth.
Hey, they
obviously, there's different mentalities. Obviously, communist mentality, democracy. Well, capitalistic. I won't say democracy. Capitalistic mentality. Yes. So this is another thing. Getting back to Sophia saying, we need to expand our way our Susu runs, not only to collect our hand, but once it's in your turn, we come together and help you with that need for your business. I agree with you, Sophia. But again, I'm going to get back to trauma, repetition, symbolism. Susu is only going to work when you reduce the trauma.
And we need to elevate the Susu, because the Susu is, and ACBN was running a Susu, and then with our hand investing into a business. And again, that works great. But look at, they have now the Black Ecosystem Fund, where they rolled out $59 million to Black organizations. That needs to become, and I don't want to say Susu, but we need to pledge to support PACU, the Pan-African Credit Union, to say when this credit union comes into existence, we will hold our money there. That to me is an easy way, one, to get the credit union off the ground, and two, actually have, because Susu is nothing else than revolving credit. And revolving credit, you can create a bank with that. So if we have enough money to circulate and get a credit union off the ground, us as leaders of organizations that are managing millions of dollars should be mindful of where we're holding that money. And that was the pushback that I did to minister's office, to say, you created this entire Black entrepreneurship program and didn't think about where the money is actually going and who's it affecting. That's
another subject of conversation. The whole grant system in this country, that's a whole other conversation. Right? Yes. And this is the thing. A lot of those organizations who receive money, interesting. Is there a will and an intent for them to work together? Don't answer that.
Yes.
Don't answer that question. Just let that marinate. We'll offline on that one. Right? Is there a will? Because if
people know my answer to that already.
Right. If even 75% of them worked together, it would be an absolute, it could be an absolute game changer historically for Black Canada and Canada.
Yes, 100%.
Right? So Christopher's saying There's an organization in Scarborough that has Afrocentric classes for children and youth. They speak about financial literacy and teach life skills. Yes, I think it's called the African, I can't remember the name of it, but that organization has been around for 50 years.
Really?
Yes.
Please introduce.
They've been around for 50 years. They've been doing it. They do it. And they've been a nonprofit since day one, community donations nonprofit. I'm going to see if I can, I wanted to give the name, but I didn't want to get it wrong. So I'm just checking to make sure I get the name right. But yes, they've been around for forever. Forever. They do classes at Centennial College. Yes, the African Canadian Heritage Association, ACHA, ACHA. Incredible organization. And you don't hear about them a lot, but they just keep on doing the work. They keep on doing the work.
This is where, like, when I do the audit of organizations in our community, if they've been around for 50 years, have they grown to where they want to get to? And
obviously not.
Right. So what, there's something fundamentally broken there, because with 50 years is 1/3 of the existence of Canada. Mm-hmm. Canada has been around for, is it 150 or I think we just passed 150. So you've been around for 1/3 of the life of Canada. Look at what Canada started as and has become. Your organization, if it's similar to what it looked like 50 years ago, that, like, if you're still only in Scarborough, that to me is a problem. Like, Brampton should have access to what they've been doing.
Funds though, right?
And that's where we have to be purposeful about fully resourcing our organizations, licensing and franchising what they have and are doing well, so that it duplicates and expands across the country. Like, it can't start in Scarborough and stay in Scarborough 50 years later. That to me,
they've basically been in the eastern half of the GTA. I know they went to, they haven't always been at Centennial College, but they've basically been the GTA, that side of the GTA for a number of years. I've given the link to the organization if anyone wants to check it out there. So
yeah, that's where our organizations need to lean into them to say, how can we help you get this to every Black parent that wants this for their child? I know every parent wants the best for their child. And if they're offering a missing element, we have to get that to the parents. Like, that should be objective one. Every parent, not just the ones that can get out there.
Right. So Ryan saying funding challenges. Africa Unite. Is that an organization or just saying Africa Unite? Well, and you know what the challenge is? Not even a lot of countries in the continent of Africa are united. That's another conversation too. So
they're trying to work on it. What do they have?
But but again, what's happened? A certain country has come in there and done investments.
Big investments
in that country. So
big.
It's not Africa United anymore. It's, does that certain country going to allow you to unite? And they ain't going to do that because they got the purse strings.
Man, yeah, it's hard to compete with stuff like that when you're a massive juggernaut with dollars to spend, and people still value money over culture. Like, they would accept that money and let people just buy whatever they want and run it how they want.
Hashtag strategic partnerships, long overdue. Long overdue.
Yes.
Long overdue. So for a show that we didn't know we were going to chat about, people cannot say that this conversation is not community driven. We basically put it out there, and you wonderful people drove the ship. That it's been an incredible. Have a good weekend. We will. The weekend has started out based on this conversation. Yes. Big thanks out to Christopher, Sophia, Alethea, ACBN, and anyone else who watches live on the replay. Now, the great thing now is when you on the live broadcast, you can watch us on the ACBN Facebook channel, Ryan's YouTube channel, my Facebook channel, my YouTube channel, and also on Twitch.
Solid.
So if you want, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe channel so you get or on my Facebook page, and you'll get notified when we go live. As much as possible, we post ahead of time when we're going live, so you'll get those notifications.
Right.
What's going on? So nothing planned on Sunday, but you got stuff tomorrow, right?
Yeah, so tomorrow's the Umoja pop-up shop. So again, shout out to Ebony Occasions, and
Yes.
STH Toronto, I think, is going to be there. So yeah, just going to go support, find some items. Did you make it out to the Scarborough Black-owned Toronto store yet, sir?
You know what? I'm going to be totally honest. I made it to a restaurant that's close to there, but I haven't made it there. So and I was supposed to go to there this week, but unfortunately, the person I was supposed to meet someone there, and they had car challenges. So you know what? I have to make a run out tomorrow morning, so to the West End. So maybe on my way back, I'll say, let me go to Scarborough Town Center, place I hardly go to, and
yes,
and just do that, act like a customer at their store and see what it's all about. But that's to the to-do list. But also, not only should you have a to-do list, but you should have a to-learn list. So what do you need to learn? What do you need to learn?
Hey, dude, you okay?
All right. See, now it is time to finish. So just close up with a few things. First things first, read you a little thing today. Will you answer the call? So courage isn't like some natural science, something that must be mined or refined. It's there within reach, within all of us. In fact, it is reaching out to us right now. Courage calls to each person differently at different times, in different forms. But in every case, it is, as they say, coming inside, from inside the house. Will you answer? Can you be brave enough to try? I hope so. So I think we all, as an environment or neighborhood, have to build up our courage and say, what is there something I need to do that will not only be for me, but go through me? What I can do for Black people that will go through me? So that's it. We're going to be back on Monday. We got a number of different things we could talk about on Monday. We may talk about the election. We may actually go through some of the candidates and go through their websites and see if they even have websites.
Listen, I'm looking forward to see how they show up online. There's no excuse.
Okay. So this is what we're going to be talking about online. Let's take a look at black candidates for this election online. I've got a list. It was up to date till last Sunday, then I was told there were 8 more Black candidates going to be running. So we'll go with whatever we have. The majority of them in Ontario. So we'll go that route. So as always, we want to finish this off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Catch us on Monday. Certainly reach out to me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you have any comments, if you want to see more, want to see less, but certainly keep the comments. And most importantly, for family, give yourself grace. All right? Give yourself grace. We'll catch you on Monday. Be well and keep the faith.